you often fused or hooked to your negative thoughts? Those are interesting words, right? Like imagining that you're glued to the negative thoughts that you have that are behind the eyes and between the ears. The brain has the capacity to hold both really positive aspects of life and darker tendencies. It's almost like the mind's a double-edged sword. On the brighter side of the mind, we learn from the past and we create things for the future. We help support people, we develop rules and curriculums, we plan ahead. The mind has the ability to do a lot of things to take care of us. And the dark side of the mind is a bit different. We feel into the negative thoughts that we have, the judgments that we feel towards ourselves and other people, the manipulations and the egoic tendencies that the mind has from time to time. Sometimes there's a destructiveness to this dark version of our mind. But I want you to know that this dark version of the mind is completely normal, and literally all of us have it. And all of us also have negative thoughts. But we have to be mindful about how much these negative thoughts control our life. How much do we actually believe them? How much do we listen to them? How much do we follow them? That's the question I want you to ask yourself. In this video, I'm going to explain what cognitive fusion is, how to work with it, how to understand it, and how to move past it. My name's Michelle, and I'm a licensed professional counselor who specializes in holistic psychotherapy. And chances are, if you've clicked on this video, you're curious to know more about how your thoughts function in your brain and what language is, how it influences your life. Some of the techniques that you're learning are going to be from a modality of therapy called ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy. This video is going to utilize techniques from ACT. ACT model embodies 6 core principles. Contact with the present moment. In other words, be here now, or mindfulness strategies. Values, knowing what matters. Committed action, can you do what it takes to get you to where you want to be? Self is context, so noticing the self, being aware of who you are and what your choices are. Diffusion, watch what you're thinking. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. And acceptance, opening up, nourishing yourself, accepting what needs to be accepted and changing what you can. If you're like me, then you know that life can be pretty challenging sometimes and that we all need an invisible toolbox in order to live our best life, to be a good friend, a good partner, a coworker, to feel healthy internally and have a great sense of well-being. Click subscribe below if you'd like to follow the content on this channel, and feel free to comment so I can get to know you better. So one of the main questions today is, what is cognitive diffusion? Cognitive fusion basically means that our brain dominates our behavior. The language that we think, the words that we choose actually influence the way we act. Sometimes our behavior can be overt or covert, and at times it can be problematic. In other words, our cognitive behaviors can have a negative influence over the life that we live. When we get hooked to our thoughts, they reel us in. So it's like a fishing pole, and the fishing pole, you reel the wire in, you reel the fish in, and sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. So sometimes our thoughts are true and sometimes they're completely false. And when we believe these completely negative, irrational beliefs, the way we feel inside drastically changes. The 2 ways that cognitive fusion shows up are when it dominates our physical reactions in life. And when this happens, we say things and we do things that are actually quite ineffective at building the life that we want to live. A cognitive fusion or a cognitive distortion might sound like, I just think that everybody hates me, so I'm just not going to go to this party. When in fact, you actually don't have proof that everyone hates you. The second way that cognitive fusion can affect us is when it dominates our thoughts or our awareness in negative ways. So it's kind of like we get pulled in or lost in our emotions. You know, some days when you wake up and you just have a blur of negative feelings involved in your mind, and it's really hard to move throughout the day because you're just stuck and glued to that place, whether those thoughts are true or not. That's an example of cognitive fusion and how our thoughts can negatively influence us. For example, you might get caught up in worry, or you might ruminate about the past that you really have no ability to control anymore. Now, there's one way that fusion isn't so bad, so I want you to keep this in mind. If fusion is used for something good, if you're fused to a good thought, so if you're in pain and all you're doing is thinking about the beach over and over and over again, then that fusion principle is okay. But in this particular video, we're referring to the term fusion as being a negative concept. So we're referring to it as negative thoughts. I want to share with you an experiential exercise. So if this is something that you'd like to participate in, keep watching the video and follow along with me. Ready? Imagine for a moment that your hands and your thoughts are feelings. Look around and imagine that everything you see in the room represents something important in your life, whether it's people or memories or activities or events or things that you enjoy. Now, as your hands are all the different thoughts that you have, and what's around you are all the things that you love in your life, slowly begin to raise your hands in front of your face, bringing your fingers closer and closer together until your palms rest right in front of your face. Now think about this for a moment. As you're holding your hands across your face, can you see the things that you love the most in your world? If you are looking outside of the small spaces of your fingers, which actually indicate your thoughts, the world gets a little bit cloudy, doesn't it? You can't quite fully see it all as well as you'd like to. So I want you to think about, how much does this limit you? If you're constantly thinking about negative thoughts, or so many thoughts in general that you're being completely mindless, how does it influence your ability to actually connect with the things that you love and be close to the things that matter to you? A lot, right? You're so caught up in your feelings that it takes away from living a meaningful life, especially when these feelings and thoughts are in relation to negativity. Now this time, put your hands up again and slowly begin to lower them and spread your fingers open so that you begin to see more and more, and you begin to notice and observe your world in a clearer perspective. And as you're bringing them down, as you're bringing the negative thoughts down, I want you to look at your hands and slowly lay them in your lap. And take a deep breath. This is what ACT calls unhooking. If you can get your thoughts, if you can diffuse them, which means to separate them. Remember, fusion means coming close. You're so involved in them, you can't see anything else. Diffusion means you're moving them away. If you can diffuse your thoughts, think about how much clearer life would be for you. And that's the whole point in cognitive diffusion, is to separate yourself from the thoughts that you have so that you can see things with more ease, that you can understand things with more clarity. So I want you to check in with yourself. What in life do you usually fuse to that's negative? What are some of these thoughts? If you're curious to know more about holistic psychotherapy and techniques to support the mind, body, and spirit, feel free to follow me on this channel and click the link below to subscribe. If you enjoyed this content, also share it with someone who might benefit as well. Have a beautiful day or night ahead. Take good care of you, and namaste.